Welcome, Army fans. This is Joe Iacono with GoBlackKnights.com, along with a very special guest today, head coach of the Army men's lacrosse team, Joe Alberici. Joe, how's the week been? How you doing?
Things are going well. Things are going well. We're deep in our preparations for Colgate, and we know we've got a huge task up there, and very talented team, one of the top five scoring offenses in the country, and we know we got our work cut out for us. So, guys are doing a good job of moving on to the next thing and being focused on a huge game.
Awesome. And we'll definitely talk about the Colgate game in a few minutes. Just want to get right into it with you, Coach. You know, your ninth nationally ranked Black Knights are now 9-1 on the season, just coming off a big win over ACC foe UNC Chapel Hill at Mikey in front of 5,000 plus fans. Can you talk about that game, the atmosphere at Mikey, what your team did to secure the win, and what your fifth straight victory over an ACC opponent means for the program?
Well, yeah, there's a lot in there. So, it was a great day for our guys. Joe Bresci and I got together on this um, Army Carolina rivalry, and we had a great one last year down at their place and in front of almost 4,000 people. And then, my pitch to him was, you come up here in late March, there'll be a great crowd. It'll be as big as you'll play in front of all year long. And that was probably about 4 or 5 years ago when we talked about it. So it was great to see it come to fruition. The support that the athletic administration gave us to put on a show like that, and then specifically around our program, our guys. Those are just important benchmarks in our program. Uh, Playing against a team, Carolina, I guess was, I'm not sure, fourth, fifth in the country, depending upon the poll. Those are the type of teams that are great measuring sticks for your guys and your programs. We know, Joe, that just due to having a great deal of success outside of our conference and the minimal at-large bids there are. I mean, there's nothing like it in any other sport where there's only 8 at-large bids. Those nothing's promised to you. With just because you're beating an ACC team or a Big Ten
Yeah.
team, nothing's promised to you. So I think our guys handled it really well. We knew the significance of the game. Your attention is captured certainly by Carolina and their ranking, but our guys have been pretty steady around knowing what we need to do, and that takes us through the Patriot League.
Awesome. And, Firsty Jackson Iker leads the team in scoring with 30 goals and 53 points. Talk about Jackson. What makes him such a prolific scorer?
Yeah, a couple things with Jackson. So he came to us with a really natural ability as a scorer, but he has worked his tail off. He's out several times a week. You can see here from the view we've got now. He's down there working on his game, working with our Coach Lewis, working with Coach Ward, to get some extra shots in. But he's far more than that. I mean, he is a great scorer, and that was on showcase this past weekend. But more so, he's a complete player. He's invested in our riding game. He's a ground ball player. I believe he leads our team in assists also. So, in a big win over Lehigh, he had 5 assists. So
Wow.
he can do it all for us. And Jackson's story is a familiar one. He had to overcome a lot of hurdles. He was a good player. We knew he was a good player as a freshman, but didn't get a lot of playing time. And then he's ready for a breakout sophomore year, and he tore his ACL. So he missed the whole season, and then was able to come back and have a great year for us last year, and he's only continued to get better. So great to see, and much needed for our team.
And then you have the diaper dandy, plebe Braden Fountain, who's from my neck of the woods down here, Cobb County, Georgia, Alatoona High School. Maybe not traditionally known as a lacrosse powerhouse down here, but he has 40 points on the season. What makes Braden so special, and what are the strengths of his game?
Yeah, Braden is several things, but one that jumps to mind most is he has a very high lacrosse IQ. He has a great, I would just call it an athletic IQ. he's a smart boy in the classroom too, but he really on the field, you can see he just finds himself into places that he's got the ability to score or make a play for others. And, he sees the field well. He shoots it very well, anywhere from 12, 13 yards in. He is a very accurate shooter on top of one who's got good velocity. So his rapid growth in this past year has been a huge part of our success. And, I'm excited for the future because there's a lot in his game that we're still scratching the surface on. So he's off to a terrific year. The numbers can tell you a little bit about the impact that he's provided for us. But I would tell you there's a lot of other plays in terms of the riding game, ground ball game that he's added that don't necessarily show up or aren't the first things you're looking at on a stat sheet.
And coach, just for some of the fans who are just, at GBK, we tend to have a pretty football heavy audience, but definitely some folks super starting to get interested in lacrosse. For a talented young plebe like Braden, are there challenges out there in the current lacrosse landscape in D1 with transfer portal and NIL? Is that as big a deal as it is in a lot of other sports?
It is, it is. I don't really know that it's like at the level of a basketball or a football in terms of just out there shopping themselves. We've been very fortunate and blessed in our program. Joe, one of the amazing statistics is our senior class is 22. We've got 22 seniors. Every kid who entered into the prep school and then came in the direct admits who joined that group, we've never lost a player. And there's some
Wow,
extremely talented guys. And
that's
we
amazing.
the junior class that's filled with all American talent. Also, we've only lost one, and that was to academic reasons. So that is you don't have to look too long or too far to understand that part of our success is the young men staying with us, guys who've had opportunities to go, and that's been a big thing. Throughout COVID, I often point to the 22 class, who was part of an NCAA tournament team as freshmen. 7 of them were starters. In 2020, you hit COVID, and all of these young men, we had 15 of them that were playing in their sophomore year, playing for us. When the season ended prematurely, we were, top 12 in the country. And, so all of those young men had an opportunity to leave, get an additional year of lacrosse. And
Right.
every one of those young men in that 22 class, and that's Brendan Nick Turn and some all-time
Hmm.
greats, Abshire, all-time
Yep.
greats in our program, they all stayed, and I think that has
Awesome.
set an awesome example, for all of the classes that have followed. And, we've been very fortunate to keep that continuity. I think it's a real testament to the young men in the program, but also to the culture within the program. And it has affected us, the transfer portal and all of those things, because of who we have to play against. But it hasn't affected us internally, which is
That's great.
a blessing.
That is a blessing. That's great. So that's kind of a really good segue into my next question, Coach. There's a difference between having a good team and having a strong program. And while all Army sports teams right now seem to be improving and starting to compete at a really high level, really great time to be an Army fan across the board. Your lacrosse program has consistently been an elite top 10, top 20 team for a few years now. What is it about the culture, your recruiting, player development, any other factors that have really allowed the men's lacrosse team to kind of set the standard for the Army Athletic Department?
Yeah, well, I think there's a lot of things you just mentioned there that play a big part. One, I would start on one you didn't mention is there's been great continuity in our coaching staff. So Kyle
Yeah.
Georgalis is in his 13th year with me here.
Wow.
Um, Justin Ward is in his 8th year. Rick Lewis is in his fourth year with us. Our director of operations is in her third year with us. I mean, so we've just had consistency there. And that has been very helpful in terms of recruiting, which you had mentioned. So we are getting some terrific players. We're getting hungry players. I don't know that we're competing and taking guys from Virginia or Duke or that level of player out of high school. But what we are is we're getting very good ones, and we're getting guys that really want to work and are invested in their craft. So it makes our job of developing them easier because they come to us with strong work ethic, or all they have to do is look around to our best players, AJ Pilot, um, Evan Plunkett, Will Coletti. Those are our hardest workers. So, they want to be like them. There's your example right there. So that helps again with the player development. And then I think that there's a um, there's just a mental side to it too. I think our guys have a strong belief in themselves and the ability to compete at the very highest level. And I think we shook off that underdog mentality a long time ago, 20 years ago. We just kind
Yeah,
of
it's funny when I was starting to put together my questions for the interview and I was talking about the UNC game. I initially wrote big upset and then I was like, no, it wasn't really an upset. I crossed it out and just said big win. So,
yeah. And listen, it is a big win, but they're all big wins. They're
yep.
all big wins, and I think that's the way our guys have approached it, and I wanted our guys to approach it. Is that there isn't a day that you're going to step on the field where you can't be beaten, and there isn't a game on our schedule that you can't win, and I think our guys have taken that to heart and are very much believe in that, believe in their teammates, and that has resulted in some positives for sure.
And so earlier you talked about the Colgate game that's coming up, obviously big game for your team. Like you said, all the games are big games. Big Patriot League matchup. Before you guys head to the rivalry game in Annapolis. What can the team build on from the win over UNC? And what do you all need to improve heading into the Colgate game?
Yeah, so I think for us, the theme has just been around the margins. I think that we're 2 months deep into this, into the playing season, and nearly 3 months of already playing. So now it's about working in the margins. What are those little things that we can improve upon? And I think all of those there's a long list of them, but I'll hit on a few of them. Certainly going into Colgate, we want to be buttoned up in our transition game, and making sure going in both directions that is now. So just making sure that we're getting in, matching up, not giving up any of the easy goals. And then on the other end of it, they're a pressure riding team. If for those folks who aren't as familiar with lacrosse, it would be like a press in basketball, and that's what Colgate will bring for all 60 minutes. So we've got to really be buttoned up there and handling it, and it's things that both of those things we've done doing pretty well this season, but there's definitely room for improvement. I think offensively, some of the points in and around scoring and creating opportunities in the 6-on-6 are really big for us here. And then last piece that I would point to is just continued connection on the defensive end, and that unit, the team is number one in the country in goals against. Sean Burns been unbelievable in the goal, and we've got a lot of terrific defensive players as well as terrific offensive players. But we just think we want to make our little saying we had at the beginning of the year is good, better, best. And never let it rest to your good is better and your better is best. And we haven't hit best yet, so we're going to keep pushing.
Good stuff. And you talked about the very minimal number of at-large bids that lacrosse teams get for the NCAA tournament. And I know coaches like to keep things one game at a time, for sure, which is always a good plan. But what is it gonna take? I know you guys had the one loss to BU, who's in conference, right? So as you finish up the regular season and get into the Patriot League tournament, what's it going to take for you guys to get into the tournament and hopefully secure some home field as well in the early rounds?
Well, our first goal right now is to take another step towards more games, and right now we haven't secured that. We're 3-1 in the Patriot League, with four more to go, and so that makes Colgate the most important game of the year, simply because it's the next one, and 3 wins doesn't get you into the Patriot League tournament, so we've got to make sure that we are, taking one game at a time. Again, due to our, last 7 or 8 years, we've had some what would be, some really impressive um, wins outside the conference. In our case, it has not yielded an at-large bid. So we've almost put that on the back burner. Like that is not really anything that we're talking about or hoping for. Um, not that other programs are there hoping for it, but certainly had very strong resumes. There's years where we've had 2 top 5 wins and 3 other top 20 wins. That's 5 top 20 wins and not gotten into the tournament. It's
Mm.
like it's a very difficult, narrow path to do that. So last year we went 5-0 out of the conference, and we didn't get an at-large bid, and we were 11-3. And so AJ Pilot and I were chatting this summer. He's like, Coach, we just got to make sure we double down on the emphasis of winning our league. And that was music to my ears, because that's all I've been thinking about all summer long. And so that has been the emphasis in this program, is you got to win the Patriot League. That's the only way to guarantee it. So what we're working on is, number one, getting in to the Patriot League tournament. Number two is once we establish that we're in, is to get as high a seed as we possibly can in that Patriot League tournament, so that that puts us in the best position to win it. And I think if our focus is there, everything else takes care of itself.
Awesome. Well, Coach Alberici, we know you're super busy getting ready for Colgate. We really appreciate your time today coming on with us here at GBK. Army fans, this has been Joe Iacono with GoBlackKnights.com, along with Army head coach Joe Alberici, head men's lacrosse coach. Go Army, beat Navy.